Hi, Mystery Writers. It's our studio, and today I wanted to talk about using character depth to build reversals. Reversals are when the story goes in the completely opposite direction. A twist may be a change, it may divert in a different direction, but a reversal is when the story just goes completely the opposite direction of where your sleuth protagonist thought it was going and where your reader thought it was going. Um, and so challenging your sleuth with obstacles um, is great engagement for your readers, and reversals where what appears to be one thing turns into something else. That's another way to look at it. Are great obstacles to throw at your protagonist, especially in the second half of your book. So, just when the reader thinks they know what's going to happen, a reversal pivots the story all the way back in a different direction. And your protagonist experiences an unexpected challenge, something they couldn't see. It just seems to, for your character, it seems to come just completely out of the blue. But as writers, that's not the case because um, we can use character reversals. So action stories often have physical reversals, such as a helicopter crash, just as the hero's about to catch the bad guy. Uh, but character reversals imbue an emotional punch to any story genre, including our mysteries. So, setting up character reversals takes a deep knowledge of your character. You need an understanding of their weaknesses and their masks. Let's look at a couple of examples. So, say a woman is in control of her male female relationships, and then all of a sudden she falls in love. This is a totally different thing for her. Um, the relationship works for a while and then he leaves. So there's something that's completely out of her control where she is used to controlling relationships. Um, and she becomes devastated and is unable to function well in the real world, living under the shadow of abandonment. So that's one idea, that you have a character who's always in control of their male female relationships, and this time, nope. All right. So another example is a low level, cheerful employee who always seems to be there when something crucial happens, and then uses their innate cunning and outer cheerful character to climb the ladder. So seems like just a low level nothingness, but all the time they are wheeling and dealing, as it were, underneath. And that character ends up at the top by manipulating everyone on his way up and manipulating them often by showing this exterior of um, what would you call it? An introverted, subservient, maybe even obsequious behavior, but meanwhile, underneath, they're scheming. So now, think about how your story would expand if both of those supporting characters were in your story: the cheerful, low level schemer and the woman who's always in control of her interpersonal relationships. So, does your protagonist see the manipulation of the employee? And will your protagonist triumph over the devastated woman? Um, So think about how a character's emotional setup you can set up in your story. I'm not being very clear. Anyway, you can set up early in your story for a payoff of a reversal later in the story by going into your character's personality and then giving something that completely reverses what that character personality is. It really requires a deep understanding of your characters. You're going to go way beyond physical description and dig into their inner makeup. Um, what you want to do in the setup is reveal the patterns and the foibles and their weaknesses and strengths that belong to that character and dribble them in over time. And you want to go from how they first appear in body language and speech to change that emerges to challenge your protagonist. Um, so to know about your character, you want to dig into the underlayers and their past experiences. Um, they may have what appears to be a slight foible that actually reveals a deep flaw. They may have had a traumatizing childhood experience that lies behind their motivation. They may have a stated motivation in conflict with deep-seated internal goals. And the only way you can use these in your story is to really understand your character in depth. You can, because the more you add to your character's list of inner turbulence, as it were, the more tools you have to reveal a reversal later in your story. What you're going to do is start with the appearance, right? And gradually reveal the nature that changes the character's action. So at some point, you're going to have a pivot. An action or piece of dialogue will trigger revealing the character's underpinnings. It's going to change their action and cause your protagonist to rethink their next action. So once you've given the reader a solid idea of your character, you can hint at the change to come. And to make the reversal integral into the story, drop small hints, say early in Act 2. Use small clues that the reader and your protagonist may overlook. Say it's a gesture or a glance or a small comment that doesn't quite fit in that scene, but it's the setup for the reversal that comes later in your story. So you build on the character's underlying change so that by the time you are past the midpoint, their base character creates an obstacle for your protagonist. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking your reader on an emotional ride, and as you complicate the characters around your protagonist, you create problems and obstacles that are the meat of challenging your protagonist and keeping your reader engaged with your story. So using character reversals challenges your hero to strive for that ultimate goal, revealing the villain. In a novel-length story, you have ample space to challenge your protagonist with several character reversals. So the whole idea is to give your hero a bumpy ride, all right? Because that's what's going to help your readers enjoy the story. They love all those surprises. They love reversals. So you can plan for those just by revealing small things at the beginning and having them turn into complete reversals later in the story. Okay, thank you, and keep writing. Tell me what you think about reversals and if you've done any and if they were successful. All right, see you next week.